Hello, this is Muruga. Welcome to yet another tutorial on OSGi. Um, just before we start this tutorial, I just want to make sure that everybody who is watching this has good bit of reading about OSGi and understand the basics of OSGi. I'm going to create 3 different projects to demonstrate how OSGi can be developed using Eclipse and BND tools. You can get the BND tools at the update site, or you can even download directly from bndtools.org. This is the place that you can get it for the update site at the point of talking. So let's get started with different projects. So I'm in the BND tools perspective, where you just create a BND tool projects. So we are going to create an interface which is just going to say hello. That's all we are going to do, part of this thing. So I'm creating a project name called com.muruga.test.api. I'm using the BND layout. Maven, it's just the layout. It's not going to use the Maven build or anything. So don't get just misguided by the Maven layout. It's just the BND layout or Maven layout. It just gives you the structure of the project, nothing more than that. So I'm just going to create an API project because we are just going to create the interface in this particular project, nothing else. There is no implementation, just purely an interface. So that's why I just created that template. I don't need any problem with subscripts, so I can ignore that. So all the other things I can leave it to the default. So when you're creating this for the first time, it's going to ask you to create a configuration folder, it's going to do a follow-up right here. Yeah, create a configuration project. So this is where the BND tool stores its the master metadata and things like that. So I'm going to say okay, and this is the bundle hub configuration that I'm going to take it. I say finish. So you're going to see a CNF file right here, and I'm going to do one quick change here. I'm using Java version 1.7, so it's actually using a little lower version. So I'm going to uncomment this, the Java source and target on this particular program. Okay, I'm going to make it to 1.7. So that's it. This is just a master configuration. I just want to keep it straight. So this is the project I created, and if you really go in there, it could have created a couple of things. I want to keep the provider interface. I don't want the consumer interface. I think we will talk a little bit about that later. I'm going to delete that. So this is the example provider interface. I'm just going to kind of rename this to just say hello. And I'm going to have a simple method which says just hello. Say hello. So that's my interface. Don't worry about this documentation. I'm going to touch anything on that. So if you really notice that there is something called package.info, which defines what is this version of this particular interface. So each package, if you are exporting this particular package, I can see that on the bnd.bnd file where you can see the export packages, which means that I am offering services. Anybody who want to consume, they can import this particular service and start utilizing the hello.sayHello method. So that's what it means. So I'm going to leave to the default 1.0.0, and it's the qualifier, which I like to have more like the timestamp. So the bnd.bnd is more like a compilation only file where you can set your build paths on the build tab, and if you want to run it from here, you can just set some of these things. But for run, we have different way of running this project, so I will talk a little bit about that. So let's create the next project which implements this API. So I say that as com.muruga.test.api.impl, and again I'm going to pick the BND layout. This time I'm going to pick the component development because I want to create a component which implements the interface that we have exposed, right? So now I have the BND file. I'm going to probably just give the version as 1. And if you really look at here, there is something called declarative services. You can either choose this is a standard OSGi specification which you can take over, or you can use the BND annotations. Again, just a point to note that BND annotations or DS annotations, it's compile time only. During compilation, it uses these annotations to generate some of the XML files like service XMLs and component XMLs. It's not really used at the runtime within the OSGi stack. So whatever you are picking, it's really not going to have any value during runtime. So just for your information. And also, if you really see, if you create anything with an IMPL, it always treats this as a private package, which means that it's not really exposing anything, rather it's implementing some of the interfaces. So I'm going to have the build path here, as I told you. I'm going to add my API here because I'm going to give an implementation for my API. So I'm going to add that here in my build path. So once I do that, I have a sample component here. I can probably go in here. Maybe I like to change this to hello implementation. Okay, so I can say hello component, hello implementation, doesn't matter. You can pick whatever you want, and I'm going to say it implements hello. So I'm going to add the method that we have, the say hello, as, let's say I'm just returning hello from OSGi implementation. Okay. So now that I have one interface, I have another project which implemented this. So somebody has to consume it, right? Because I cannot really directly use this, so I have to have another project now. Somebody has to consume it. So I'm going to create another BND project called com.muruga.test.consumer. Okay, so this guy is going to actually consume that. Again, this I'm going to take it as a component development and going to say finish. So let's say this is a hello consumer. Okay, so let's put it that way. Again, let's do this first. Let me change this to hello consumer. So I'm going to go to the BND. I'm actually going to change the version to 1.0. I'm going to use the BND annotations. I am actually, the private packages again, as you have seen that before, I'm adding the build path here. Part of the advantage that BNDTools gives you is that, it computes the computed imports and all that automatically for you. So I'm not, if you really look at it, I'm not really using the implementation, rather I'm using only API, nothing else, okay? So it just has the API. There can be n number of implementations for that particular API. So I'm going to say private hello and hello, right? And I'm going to use the annotations called reference, not reference, public void set hello, which is takes the hello as the parameter. I'm going to say this dot hello equal to hello. It's not a good way of doing these things with system.out, but just for the demonstration purposes, I'm just going to give you that hello the implementation is being set. So this actually gives you, this is what called as declarative services, where you automatically, if you have 2 or 3 different bundles that is implementing, this method would be called that many times automatically, and the hello thing would be coming in. So you might be asking me a question on, okay, if I have 3-4 different implementations, if I want to use one particular implementation, how do I do that? So part of your implementation, you can always say this has some of the custom versions, meaning to say you can give key value pairs, let's say version equal to 1.0 and name equal to XYZ. So when you are doing a set here, you can always apply a LDAP like filter, and it's going to give you only that particular instance which matches that particular LDAP like filter. So you can have a number of versions. So this is called semantic versioning, where you can have a lot of different versions for a particular API, but at the same time, based on your conditions, you can have different filters and it can set the value for you. For example, I can have hello 1, hello v1, hello v2, hello v3. I can have that many set with different filters, so it can set different versions. So based on your at the time of invoking a method, you know which one to, whether it's a version 1 or 2 or 3, you know, and you can use that particular instance to invoke that. So I think that's it, you know, where you are having this, it's automatically get injected. And the way that you can test this is there is, as I told you, the BND.BND is for mainly for, you know, the compilation and stuff like that. And .bnd run is always for, you know, executing this. So in order to test this within Eclipse, or, you know, I use Spring Tool Suite. So within Eclipse, you use this BND tools, which gives you a great flexibility. So let's say I want the consumer. I just drag drop into my runtime requirements. All I need to do is hit the resolve. It's actually going to resolve all the you know, the transitive dependencies, which is actually going to be, you know, if you really look at it, it needs API, it needs implementation, consumer, and all the other stuffs that is really needed. So I'm going to say finish. I just save this, and I'm just going to run the OSGi. So it's actually going to show you the Felix container with a go shell on it. So if you really see, it's already have given you that hello implementation is set. So if you have some level of command or something which you want to invoke on this particular method on this particular consumer, it can automatically get invoked and you can see what's happening. So let's you know, LB is list bundles. So it's going to tell you what are the different bundles that are running here. I can, you know, if let's say I'm going to do a stop on the implementation, which is number 2, so it's actually going to stop everything. So if we start number 2, you will see that the hello implementation is set message again, because there is a rewiring that happens automatically. So you don't really worry about how the wiring happens and everything. The OSGi container takes care of doing all the wiring for you during runtime. So that's the beauty of you know, OSGi, where, you know, you have one interface and you can have a number of implementations, and it gives you a greater flexibility in terms of semantic versioning and have different variations within your process, and it gives you a component level granularity where you should be able to manage them pretty clearly. So I'm just going to quickly switch gears and go towards the deployment tool, something called Fabric8. So it's Fabric8, so you can call it as a Fabric8. So it's an open source from Red Hat, and there are a lot of committers, and it's a very active community. So I'm going to quickly show you how you can spin that up and what's the advantage of using that. So just you can download that from fabric8.io. So that's where you can go and you can download the cutoff version of it, which is embedded. So what it does is that it manages the entire server, the container of clusters and deployment from one central point. It creates an ensemble, and any child can join to the ensemble, and then you can control the child from your root itself. So let me get this started, you know, just to give you a feel about what's a Fabric8 and how you can, you know, use that. So it's more like a shell, like a command that you are going to use. There are a lot of different commands. You know, you can just to go once you get in, you just press tab. You should be able to see all different combination that's available. Or you partially type and hit a tab, and you should be able to see what are the different things that are available. It's taking a bit. Let's give it a moment. Alright, here we are. So I already just started this once, and there is an ensemble that's created. If there is no ensemble, the way that you can create is fabric:create, and then just press enter. That's all you do. If an ensemble is already created, if you just hit tab, there are a number of fabric commands that's available. In order to check this quickly, you can just say container -list. So that's going to tell you what are the different profiles that are available and things like that. So I'm going quickly to the Firefox and just going to log in to the admin console. You can just hit, you know, the IP colon 808181. You should be able to put good to be there, and it is going to ask you the user password. It's the default user password is admin. So if you really look at it here, there is one container here. So I can always, just say create, and I can select the container type as child, and I say it is child one, and who is the parent. If there are a number of different other the fabric managed containers, you will see them here. So you can select the child for any parent. So let's say I created this, I don't really want to associate too many stuffs, or I can even associate the profiles like a fabric and default and things like that. No, these are just default profiles, so you can see these profiles. A profile is nothing but atomic unit of deployment unit, where you should be able to version a profile and you should be able to deploy it. This is how you obtain a rolling upgrades feature. And once you are in a version and you want to upgrade to the next version, you create another profile version, and then you add all your bundles, whatever that you have created, and then you can select different containers to apply that particular version. So that way, you move on to a rolling upgrade process. Let's say something goes wrong, you select the previous version and apply to the container, everything taken care automatically. So I'm going to just hit the create the container. It's actually going to create this automatically on this machine. So it's not that you have to do it on the same machine. You can have two various machines doing this job for you. Right now I'm on a Mac, single Mac, so I just wanted to demonstrate this feature to you. So that's the reason why I'm just running only one root node. Otherwise I can have a number of root nodes from different machines. So let's wait until this gets provisioned. I can do even watch container list. So it's going to tell me what's happening, or you can just hover over this icon, which is going to even tell you what's happening. Right now it's alive, it's trying to provision itself, applying the profiles and things like that. So you can either monitor in the console, or you can directly do it on here. So it's alive and downloading. It's going to finalize and things like that. It's resolving, it's going to finalize, and then provision it. So that's all it's going to do. So once this is done, obviously you have your container ready, and you can apply all sorts of different profiles and manage this remotely from here. So once it's finalized, it's up and running. So it can start serving your web request, or your whatever services that you want to offer, using different bundles, which got deployed in this particular child node. So while it does that, I want to just quickly take you through one other thing, which is the profile, which we talked about. What are the different kind of rolling upgrades and things like that. So if you see, this container is ready, it's alive and success. So it's spun up one of the instances, one of the new JVMs with this particular container, where it has default and fabric profiles already associated with it. So I can go into the profiles. These are the different profiles that are available. So I can go into the manage. I can say, create one more profile, one more version. Let's say it's 1.1. I don't need to give anything. It automatically creates the next available version number. So I'm going to add a Tomcat profile right here. Okay. So let's say I'm adding a Tomcat container into my profile, and I'm going to add this. So which means it's going to ask me the profile name. So let me name this as Tomcat profile. So once I say Tomcat profile, the Tomcat profile would be get created. Okay, the Tomcat profile is created. So let's go back here to the runtime. Okay, so let's get there. Sorry, it got stuck here. I'm not sure why. All right. Okay, so let's go in here into this particular container, and I can go into the manage profiles. I can switch this over. There are two different ways that you can do. If you have Sorry, let me go into a new tab, probably take it from there. Alright, the two different ways that I can do is I can go into the manage and do it, or I can, if I want to apply this profile only to a particular container, I can go in here. I can just select the migrate to 1.1. So my 1.1 version is nothing but it has a Tomcat container on it. So it's actually going to provision this into 1.1. So now let's say I added Tomcat, let's say you wanted to do few other things, you can actually do all that, and it's actually, if you really see here, it's resolving, downloading, resolving, and finalizing. It's going to bring the the provision status to alive. So that way it's already applied. So you can have different versions running on different containers, or you can select like multi-select and you can apply versions automatically from here, or you can even go into manage and you can apply the same thing. So this is all about how you can do a seamless deployment and manage this from a central location of all this, and how you can also support the rolling upgrades and the rollbacks, and also do some level of monitoring, of course, from here. If I just go to health, I should be able to see what's the health of the system and things like that. If I go, I can even drill down to a particular container. Let me go here to this, and I can, let's say I want to go into this particular container. I drill down there, I can click on this open right here. So once I do, I'm actually going into that particular child container, so which means I have more information about that particular container, what's happening with it, what are the different things that are running. You can monitor this pretty closely on that particular level. So if I just go into the OSGi, I should be able to see what are the different bundles that are running here and things like that. And one of the coolest features is that it gives you a kind of a map where you should be able to see what are the wiring that's happening, and it's a big, quite a big amount of wiring that happens underneath. You may not be able to uh, give a lot of sense out of it, but it can definitely give some level of information from the dependencies. If you see how much of the complexity that goes, which is obviously taken care by the OSGi container, which is absolutely awesome. So I'm just let it render here for a couple of minutes, and we can move on from here. Okay, so these are the different bundles. If you see, 499, 500, 501, these are different bundles. These are different kind of associations on the wiring that happens underneath. um, you know I'm not sure how much it's going to add value, but definitely it gives you a sense of how much of wiring that's happened and it's handled by the OSJ container. And also you have JMax, and you can go to the JMax and monitor some of the stuff, um, and how things are going. You can select anything in particular, and you can start looking at that. You can, of course, you can pick anything, hotspot, and you can, if there is chart that's available, you should be able to see that. I think that's it for today, and hope it helped you understand how we create a basic bundles, and there are a lot of other stuff to do, but I hope instead of doing a lot of reading, this small bit of doing a work and see how we can map things would actually help. So I hope this is helpful to all of you, and look forward to talking to you again. Thank you.